there was criminality and there were security concerns that involved foreigners, you know. And the undocumented story that you were talking about, that really conflated the whole issue. And also issues of your organized crime, the issue of trafficking. The zamazamas of this world. There are those that have got certain documentation in this country that are foreigners. They've got your type of, is it residence, and they've got, you name them, because you're an expert, I'm not.
The same.
But you
Undocumented means I don't have records of Cindy being in South Africa.
I thought by virtue of being undocumented, that means you're illegal, and illegal.
No, you're still illegal.
Hello, family. Welcome once again to the Forum for the Marginalised. My name is Cindy Sashengyon, and today, we were looking at an issue that has dominated the socio, economic, and political landscape of this country. South Africa is a land of opportunity, and it is also a land of tensions, derived from numerous perspectives, in which we're going to be drilling deeper with regards to that. But we're going there. The issue of migration here is nothing new, yet it has been turned into political battlefield, and it has driven fear and division. Some analysts are saying that the problem is not migrants. The problem is a broken system. The problem is weak governance. The problem is weaker border controls and deep inequality. That is why the Forum for Immigration Practitioners of South Africa, representing over 100 specialists nationwide, is here. Through its chairperson, Gershon Mosiane. You might remember him, family. I will remind you, we'll talk about it. But he's here to flip the script and fight for a fairer and more honest conversation about immigration. If you had not subscribed to this channel, please do so. Please click, please share, please like. We love and value your input. I would like to start our conversation. Welcome, Dr. Mosiane.
Good afternoon, this is Cindy and your team and your viewers. I'm here to share my knowledge, experience, not only mine, but that of FIPSA and our members, and those that cannot speak for themselves, which are foreigners who sometimes don't understand demographics or language, or they are not from this country.
So for a person that is directly watching this episode today, I want us to speak to that person and tell them what may change their perspective with regards to how they perceive foreign nationals in our country.
Firstly, I think it's important that I outline what is FIPSA. FIPSA is a Forum for Immigration Practitioners of South Africa, and it consists of professionals, not street agents, people that are here to assist and advise both foreigners and even government and improve relations as to how foreigners can be properly regulated in this country. We are not creating anything that is illegal, but we stand out there for quality, legality, humanity. That's what we stand for. We are professionals. We are recognized by SAQA, and we've been recognized from 2015. Now we have SAQA has extended our recognition until 2030. So we are not fly by night, and we stand for the Constitution of South Africa. And again, in terms of international law, humanity. But the guiding principle is legality. The principle of legality is entrenched in common law. We are saying everything that should be done for a foreigner in this country should be legal. That's what we stand for.
So for somebody that is watching, for people that will be watching today, the issue of immigration has been an issue where it has always been presented in a one-sided narrative. And I am glad actually that, there are organizations such as FIPSA, perhaps to be able to balance the story, if I can put it like that. Because for the longest of time, I think what we have consumed as citizens of this country is a one-sided narrative in terms of how we view the issue of immigration. And I wanted to understand from an organization point of view, but also let's actually humanize this discussion, where I'm going to ask you a blatant question on why foreign nationals are used as scapegoats on the problems that we're facing in this country.
Let me start here. Again, I'm going to go back and say FIPSA is the only professional organization that is recognized in terms of SAQ. That's the starting point. The history of the problems of this country are well documented. To the extent that if a person doesn't have water, we will find an excuse. And I'm not going to talk on behalf of foreign nationals. But my answer to that question is most foreign nationals are self-sufficient. They create their own businesses. They create their own money. The challenge is the strain that we have. We must find a scapegoat. But as FIPSA, we're saying for a foreign national to conduct business, they must have a proper business visa. For a foreign national to work, they must have a valid, legally obtained work visa. To study, same. So we are not advocating that there must be lawlessness. And that's the misconception. The misconception is we just paper pushers. And to the extent that when a person would call you and say, can you arrange my papers? It's not about arranging papers. It's about consulting with you, advising you as to whether you qualify, you meet the requirements, and then we approach Home Affairs. We are not advocating people to jump borders as the narrative is put out there. No, that's not what we say. Hence, we are saying, let us unpack it in a proper way. And then people will learn to understand what we're talking about. Migration globally has been there from time immemorial. The word nomads, people traveled all over globally. From time before we had borders, before we had papers. All what we're saying as FIPSA, as professionals, trained, experienced, we're saying there must be proper structure. If government can come on board and work with us so that those that are so-called undocumented must come forward and be documented, for an example, and those that have applied must be treated fairly, their applications must be adjudicated fairly, without fear of favor and undue influence. That's all what we're saying. We're speaking for fairness. I mean, I'll give you an example. How you as a South African feel when you apply for the renewal of your driver's license and it takes ages and you are being persecuted, and I'll use the word persecuted, by traffic officers and law enforcement agencies. How do you feel? Imagine a foreign national then. How do you feel as a foreign national when there are unreasonable delays and your bank account is closed? How do you feel? How do you feel as a foreign national when your study visa, your child's study visa is delayed and the school is giving you problems? How do you feel? As a foreign national, you are in a foreign country, you comply with everything. You have the money, but you can't function because of red tape. That's what FIPSA is trying to resolve. Hence, the reason for the 22nd of October 2025, the Indaba, to try and unpack this and resolve the misconceptions, give Home Affairs constructive feedback as to what are the problems on the ground. We see these people every day. They come to our offices. So we there to help the country, not to facilitate illegal migration. No, that's a misconception. And I'm going to take it differently. Is it fair that when you or me, I'm a South African, if I go to a public hospital, somebody must ask me for my ID? Whereas that person does not have the legal authority. Let alone my identity then. Ask for my ID and ask me to go in or not go in. Is it fair? And for your own information, foreigners are prepared to build their own private clinics. They can club together and do it. But these are conversations that would be relevant for the Indaba. And it's very important that for the 22nd of October, people must reserve tickets, must join, and be able to can hear how we unpack these small issues, which ultimately will add on to the basket of saying, let us kill the tension. We are at the brink of people attacking each other, fighting, but we can avert that. We need peace. We come from a painful past. We just need peace.
Some factions or some organized bodies in this country who seems to be representing the social aspect of this country, and which also feeds into the whole economic outlook of this country and the perception thereof would say to you that, look, the numbers game that has been presented in terms of the foreigners that are in the country versus the output of the economy with regards to availing jobs is having an impact where it is discriminating the citizens of this country. I think let's start from that premise. And within that, you would find that there's also a view that there is exploitation practices that comes to the fore simply because the amenability of those that are from a position of lack agreeing to take on whatever it is, and somebody that would be conducting their business would be thinking, this is better because I'm going to be saving costs compared to a South African. So let's start from there, because those are the pressures that, that builds up into a particular narrative in terms of how society, let's say South Africans, let me not say society, it also, even if you look beyond South Africa in the United States, for instance, there is that perception that foreigners are there to actually take our jobs. And we in this country, if you look at the employment statistics in this country, sure, we are bleeding. So I wanted to get it from you because you are involved in an environment where you deal with immigration issues, you deal with foreigners, and those that you are trying to make them legal in this country. And you've made numerous people in this country that have benefited from what FIPSA is doing and what you're doing as your profession. That part, how do we deal with it?
Let me clarify the first point. The misconception. FIPSA is not there to make a person legal who is illegal unlawfully so. FIPSA is there to assist, advise, that is FIPSA members, foreigners that are in this country, to comply with immigration legislation.
Get you.
Now, we take it, let me unpack it further. We as South Africans, we have a misconception that foreigners are taking our jobs. But simply put, who are employers, main employers in the country? A foreigner can't be employed if they don't have proper papers or a valid work visa, for an example. So then you go to the asylum system. But foreigners are not competing with us in terms of jobs. We've been saying this for over years, but that is not true. They are not. I'll be honest with you, they are not. I stand to be corrected. But what we're saying as FIPSA, hence the indaba, is to say, let's unpack this so that we understand properly as South Africans and even government, all the stakeholders, to understand where is the problem of unemployment. It's not foreigners. We will unpack it brick by brick. We are not saying there are no foreigners. Taking your question to the next point, if we don't have numbers of undocumented foreigners, how are we going to know the problem? If we don't know who's here, we as FIPSA, we are prepared to engage with Home Affairs to say, how do we get those that are unaccounted for so that we can fix the problem? We have a plan and we'll present it at the Indaba to the Deputy Minister to say, how do we resolve the problem? If I'm here, I'm stuck here. I have a house. What must happen to me and my kids? There are kids that are here in South Africa. They don't even know their home country. What should happen to them? These are real issues of humanity that we need to be dealing with. We can't say these people must just be put in a truck and deported. No, we can't. All what we're saying, we are not saying break the law. Hence the Indaba. We are saying to Home Affairs, let's come up with a plan as to how we fix the problem. So the issue of humanity comes into play. I mean, we as FIPSA members, the members will tell you, there are kids that were born here. They don't even know their home country. They studied from grade R, now at matric, or they're about to go to matric, but they can't get papers. How do we deal with that? That's the reason for the Indaba, so that Home Affairs can understand. We're trying to show them that we are not saying change laws, create lawlessness. All what we're saying is listen to the crying person.
Sure. I wanted to touch back in terms of what you had indicated, that foreigners, in all honesty, they're not taking jobs from South Africans. I wanted you to substantiate more on that before we move to another issue.
Let me explain it in this way. The scenario is the following. A foreigner opens a business, employs a South African. And then one would say the South African is not happy with the salary, but there's laws to deal with that. There's laws to deal with that in terms of labor. That is why at the immigration Indaba, we have a person from the Department of Labor. Home Affairs has introduced a point-based system. So if you are a foreigner, you're looking for work, you have to get a work permit. There's a point-based system. So whatever cry that South Africans can have from the Indaba, we will be able to build up how we improve our regulations and make sure that a South African youngster who matriculates today is not disadvantaged by a foreign national. We know how to deal with that. We are experts in that field. That's the reason for the Indaba. So from the Indaba, the takeaway from the Department of Labor, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Home Affairs, and other stakeholders will go out with something in their basket to say, how do we fix South Africa? That is what it's all about. It's not about one individual, but the guiding principle is how do you treat a fellow human being. We are not saying there must be lawlessness. Regulate fairly, then we'll have a better South Africa. If you check, we're hosting the G20. Is the approach to foreigners to say, put them in a truck and that's it, portraying us in a proper way? No. But that is a sale package for the Indaba.
Yes. I think the reason why I am honing in with regards to the issue of the glaring perception that exists in terms of attributing unemployment to foreigners that are in this country. Perhaps maybe I wanted to actually hone in on the exploitation practices that presents themselves simply by having somebody that is not from this country working for someone, whether they are from this country or not from this country. And the reason why I'm asking you, it is because that has become a contributing factor in terms of how citizens of this country, or some South Africans, are looking at issues of immigration. And in the context of the socio-economic and political environment that we find ourselves in right now, the issue of unemployment we cannot run away from. And the fact that at the key or central to that, and even it's a narrative that is being pushed by movements, is being pushed by other bodies, is that South Africans are at the receiving end of what we would term as gainful employment in this country. And the reason why I'm also saying that, it is because, as I had alluded to earlier, the unemployment statistics in this country are alarming. And we cannot run away from the fact that there is poverty and there is unemployment. And at the face of it, it would be somebody, perhaps maybe when somebody who says, "Wenzi garden," let me put it like that. Let's now move away from professionals and move away from entrepreneurs. Let's talk about the other part where you're not looking at a skill as an example. And those that have been employed from there, vis-a-vis South Africans that are employed.
I'm happy that you dissected it properly.
Sure.
Not about scarce skills. You're talking about now the end of the food chain.
Yes.
That is gardeners, your domestic workers, your general laborers. And that's why it's important that labor is going to be at the Indaba, Department of Labor. The Department of Labor, they have tools to deal with unfair labor practices. So if, let's say, South African 1 and foreigner 2, labor can go in and check. The tools are there. They just have to implement it. But we as FIPSA, because we deal with people on a daily basis, we know, we have the information. Now, the next leg is the following. And I'm going to be blunt. How many South Africans, young, old, are prepared to be gardeners? But that's where the problem starts. But again, if we have the tools to ensure that a foreigner does not have an advantage over a South African, then we're fine. Gradually, we'll get to the problem. But again, it goes back to there must be a discussion about this. We cannot talk in corridors and say, foreigner cost me my job, and whereas you don't want to take that job. Let's go to restaurant. The restaurant industry is changing drastically in terms of employment for the same reason, in terms of waiters, managers, and everything.
Yes.
But it's because the Department of Labor and Home Affairs used the legal tools that are there to ensure that there's proper compliance. But now, this is where it gets interesting. That's where FIPSA members come in, because of FIPSA members are able to advise the restaurant owners to say, you can't employ a foreigner, 100 foreigners, whereas you are violating the Immigration Act or regulations and the laws of the Department of Labor and the regulations. So this is how you must do it in a proper way. The result would be that the South African that feels that he or she was disadvantaged, the remedy comes in. So FIPSA is the solution to linking all the government departments together in terms of immigration.
Sure.
So whether it's business, whether it's labor, whether it's schools study, for an example, school principals don't know what to do with students. Whether it's medical, doctors don't know. But FIPSA becomes the link between everybody else. That's why at the Indaba, it's crucial that all these things should be outlined. For an example, a doctor doesn't know when he has to issue a letter for a medical visa, what must be contained in that letter. But FIPSA members can be able to get assist.
So let's flip a script a little bit. You spoke about doctors, but you only touched on a point where certain requirements that are there on what to do with certain things. What has been glaring and that has been popularized or publicized is the issue of the pressure on public services, where there's a narrative that is there, and social media is the one that has played an intricate role in terms of being able to show how migrants are blamed for straining hospitals, straining schools, and housing without proportional resource allocation that is existing in this country. You've seen it has been happening. Certain movements that have even barred people from entering or accessing public health care. And they had indicated, and most of them are indicating that, look, the reason why South Africans are at the receiving end of not being able to get proper healthcare, it is because we are sure there's strain in our public healthcare facilities. And it is because of foreigners. Again, what would you be able to?
Honestly, without proper stats, one cannot say yes or no. But my understanding, again, it goes to the issue of the Indaba, whereby all departments will be able to can understand how things work. I'll give you an example. Let's talk about healthcare. If you go to a public hospital, let's say to Natal Spruit Hospital, as a South African, you produce your ID, you say, I don't have money to pay. They charge you 200 rands or whatever amount. I'll pay tomorrow. What happens in terms of a foreigner? If you put proper systems, if the foreigner is undocumented, there's human rights laws, there's the National Health Act, then whoever is there must apply the law. And that's what FIPSA is saying. So let's not come with excuses. What we're saying as FIPSA, let the law apply. We are not saying foreigners should have free flow. Hence the discussion of all the stakeholders. What we're saying is, everything must go according to the laws of the Republic of South Africa. Period. We're not saying change anything. For an example, in terms of healthcare, what does the law say? If you can afford rights to any other human being, does it mean if I cannot produce my ID, then you cannot give me services? How many South Africans don't have IDs? They have blocked IDs. They don't have IDs, some of them. Do you say they cannot get health services? So it's all about how you treat another or a fellow human being. And we are saying to government, we are available. Our members are knowledgeable, able, and will assist government in resolving the issue of undocumented foreigners, those that have outstanding documents, etc.
So would you say that within the monitoring and governance system, there isn't any synergies? Perhaps if you look at various departments or various stakeholders that within the governance system that are supposed to ensure that there is a process that is actually being undertaken. Because I'm hearing what you're saying. You're saying that, look, even with our public healthcare system, the law must take its course. Where, what does the law say? If somebody is undocumented, goes to a public healthcare facility and needs assistance, what does the law say? So you're saying that, look, apply the law accordingly so that you avoid situations such as these happening. The movements that we cannot run away from the fact that there is a voice, or there are voices that are coming up. And those voices have painted a narrative where they're looking at first bread and butter issues of this country. They are looking at the well-being of citizens of this country. They are also looking at the well-being of perhaps maybe the country as a whole. But there is systematic underlying challenges that this country has, where you are saying if there were systems that were put in place for us to be able to mitigate certain things such as these that I've just alluded to before, perhaps maybe these things where you find that there's an uprising in terms of anti-foreign perception and thinking, anti-foreigner perception and thinking, maybe it would have been resolved. And that's the reason why you're saying that the endeavor is looking at consolidating these particular issues. My question would be, FIPSA has been in existence for quite some time, and it has played an integral role in terms of advocacy, in terms of representation, in terms of being able to ensure that there's professionalizing of the industry itself. Where did you see, or where did you identify that there were gaps in the system?
We have identified the gaps in the system over a period of time. I will give you a simple example. A foreign national, business person, paying taxes, SARS, applies for permanent residence, it's granted. Home Affairs previously used to issue the permanent resident certificate, original, and make a copy at head office and put a stamp and say PR verified so that he can apply for an ID. They've stopped that. That is Home Affairs. Then out of the blue. Right? They've changed that. So they just issue the PR. The foreign national applies for the ID. The ID is rejected. They say there's no verification of permanent residence. And that's the same Home Affairs, Civic Affairs. Now what happens to that person? The bank says, where's your ID? When he travels at the airport, they say, where's your ID? Now he has to go back and apply for proof of permanent residence, which takes another, I don't know how many years. And this person is legally in the country. There's everything is in order. And again, I'm going to keep on referring to the Indaba. Home Affairs needs to know about these things. The civic services at Home Affairs, I mean, it's a joke that you are at Home Affairs. Here's a permanent residence certificate. It was issued by your colleague. Why can't you verify it with your colleague and issue the guy with the ID? Why do you put the responsibility on the foreign national? The list is endless. Hence, as FIPSA, we want to give the Department of Home Affairs, the Department of Trade and Industry and Competition, proper constructive feedback. To be able to be honest, Cindy, in South Africa, in general, not only about foreigners, it's cumbersome to get basic services.
Yes.
Not only for foreigners, for South Africans as well. So, the purpose of the Indaba is to unpack these things deeper and ensure that the wrong narrative that is being pushed by other organizations or people that do not have the correct information must be dispelled or be corrected. I don't want to go to the spaza shop environment of food and everything. Again, there, it goes back to what I was saying. Our regulations, our laws are there to protect us, but we are not implementing them. Simple as that. But organizations such as FIPSA will be able to can advise whoever requires so to ensure that they comply. We will assist government in terms of compliance. Some people don't even know what to do. For an example, a person obtains permanent residence, and then on the condition of the PR, they say you must do certain things within 2 years. That person doesn't even know what they have to do. After that 2 years, the permanent residence is withdrawn. Then the person comes to you as a FIPSA member to say, listen, this is the letter that I received. I was supposed to do 1, 2, 3. But if the person does not have a FIPSA member and was not aware, they're dead and buried. Simple as that. I mean, we have rejections whereby they phone you once. I mean, I'm in a meeting with you now or in this podcast. My phone is off. They phone once. If you don't answer, they reject. Those are important issues that relates to humanity. They're phoning you about your life. How does a person take a drastic decision or an adverse decision against you just with one phone call? I don't think the minister even knows, but he needs to know. That's the purpose of the Indaba.
So, there were scenarios where you could actually see that people with chronic illnesses were deprived of being able to get assistance. And I think we need to, because the most public expose that was there was mostly on our public healthcare system. And I think I need to not move away a little bit, because we're still going to be going to crime and security concerns that do exist. But people are saying now that by virtue of intervening in that space, an ordinary South African can be able to go into the clinic or hospital instead of sitting there from 4 o'clock in the morning until the clinic or the hospital closes. They're able to be attended to in a short period of time. When they did not intervene in that aspect of being able to ration who comes in or who doesn't come out, a person would go there 4 o'clock in the morning to queue and be able to and go home, and sometimes not get attended to at 3 or 4, whatever time that they close. And we spoke about the inefficiencies when it comes to the system, and the system not really talking to each other. How long has FIPSA knocked on doors of these different stakeholders or entities or those with responsibility or authority for them to be able to start now? Now, it's only now that they recognize this problem. But it's been there. How long has FIPSA knocked on those doors? And what responses were you actually getting? Are they getting it?
From inception, FIPSA has been advocating for fairness, and we're marginalized. The only minister, and I'm going to be blunt and passionate about this, the only minister that gave us an audience for the first time, I'll bar Dr. Scriber because of he's going to address us at the Indaba, was Dr. Naledi Panda. She had a meeting with us when they were repealing Section 46. Other than that, we have been pushed. People did not want to listen to us. This problem, even the problem of undocumented foreigners, we as FIPSA, we are not the alpha and the omega, but we can come up with solutions. They've not been listening. If I'll give you a different scenario.
Yeah.
If as a person you qualify, you've applied, you have to wait for more than 2 years for the outcome of your application. What is that in terms of your day-to-day living? These are issues that we are raising, and we've been raising them. If you send an email as an immigration practitioner, you inquire about an application, and you send a read receipt, and then 8 months down the line, there's no response. And after 8 months, you see that it has been read. I mean, it has been opened and deleted without being read. You have a person crying, saying my bank account is being closed. Those are pertinent issues that we've been raising. We've been raising issues with the Department of Labor. There's no response. Maybe this time with the Indaba,
Sure.
things will change. And going back to the introduction of your question about healthcare and numbers, let us be honest. As South Africans, let's say the number of foreigners at clinics or at hospitals, honestly, they cannot cause the whole problem. It's the system itself. I can tell you a simple example. I don't want to name the Office of Home Affairs. For civic purposes, and civic purposes relates to South Africans, meaning your birth certificate, your passport, ID. And then there's BAPS. You book on BAPS, and then you book an appointment. People fight on queues with appointments. They fight. Literally fight. Push each other in the queue. Where's the foreigner there? There's no foreigner. It's the system. Let's check up our system. And that's what Dr. Scriber is trying to come up with, which we appreciate. Hence, we want engagement. When last did you apply for a driver's license? How long did it take you to get it? Where's the foreigner? And I will tell you now, most foreigners that are clients, unless those that cannot afford, they go to private institutions. Foreigners are prepared coming out of Africa. They pay 500,000 rands for medical services without complaining. So let's engage and work together to fix whatever is a misstep, whatever is the problem, but only in the spirit of humanity. What does international law say? What does the UN say? And the issue of foreigners, you can take it back to the time when in Pretoria, foreigners were sitting outside, camping outside the UN offices. How was it resolved? Taking them in and arresting them, does it solve? How much does it cost us to host one illegal foreigner in Lindela or in prison, the one that has been found guilty? How much per day? So we need to create that signage that you asked me about. But you need all the role players. You can't ignore one role player and listen to the other one. That is what is this all about.
So, but at the same time, as much as we're talking about the inefficiency of the system, right? And attributing to some of the issues to exactly that. Let's get our house in order, basically. That's what we're saying. Let's get our house in order. That's
exactly
it, right? We cannot even sort of overlook, because I think there's a lot of incidences where there was criminality and there were security concerns that involved foreigners. you know. And the undocumented story that you were talking about, that really conflated the whole issue. And also issues of your organized crime, the issue of trafficking. The zamazamas of this world, you know. So it is that, perhaps, I think let's look at the trajectory in terms of how this issue sort of escalated as well. And which the integral part of the discussion in terms of what we're having, or the issues that transpired, were pertaining foreigners. Your issue perhaps maybe, although directed or misdirected, I'm not here to judge. I think what we are here for is being able to get it's to inform and educate. I think that for me, that is more important, other than siding with this one and siding with that one. Because we might be able to look at the same thing, but we'll look at it in a different eye. So I wanted to get to exactly that. Because we can't run away with this criminality.
Look, I agree with you partly.
Okay.
There's criminality, yes. And crime is crime, whether committed by a foreigner or a South African. But if you recall what I said about documentation, becomes crucial, because of, if Mr. X has committed an offense but is not documented on the system, then we can't track him or her. And then where do we go? Home Affairs. Where do we go? FIPSA member might have the file of Mr. X. And we keep files, our members keep files, records of saying, I saw Cindy today, she came for a study visa and blah, blah, blah. But if we have undocumented people, then we have a problem. Again, it goes back to the system. Hence the Indaba. In the Indaba, we'll tell them what we know, how things are happening on the ground. So, it's all about talking with each other as recognized organizations to say, how do we assist each other? We are not government, but we are citizens. We are responsible citizens. How do we contribute to help government to say, this is how things are happening on the ground? I mean, a typical example, in terms of wholesaling everything, we know. I can tell you now, I'm speaking as a chairperson of FIPSA, but in terms of my clients, I can tell you how many wholesalers are in First Bank. That information is there. If you go to our members, they will give you the information. It's easy there. If there's a crime committed, we'll provide the information. But if you are not listening to us, you don't want to talk to me, you labeling me as if I'm a nobody, whereas I'm a professional, then we have a problem. We are concerned because of, remember, crime, it's not about you not being heard, but crime is you contributing positively as a responsible citizen to that crime being kept and stopped before it gets to your door. So we have that responsibility as well as FIPSA members. As much as we say, as FIPSA, our members, there's a code of conduct that you sign every year at the AGM to say you will do 1, 2, 3. And that's why we are crying to Home Affairs, hence the indaba, to say, when we talk to you, you're not hearing us, but we are the people with the right information for you to do your work. But you are not listening to us. And we are recognized by SAQA for more than 10 years now, at least.
You see, the advocacy part, that's a way I wanted to actually to get to. But before we sort of perhaps maybe digress a bit from what we've been talking about in terms of the rampant crime and the contributing factor into it. You look at issues of let's now, talk about drugs. Let's now humanize this. Let's talk about the zamazamas. Let's talk about all that. We are attributing it, yes, you are correct, to the system, because had our ducks been in a correct row, we should have been able to at least not cap everything, because you cannot really control everything in life. But we could have been at least attempting to do something. Do something. You must be seen to do something. But the problem is that within that, as you as a South African citizen that is also affected by crime, there are those that have got certain documentation in this country that are foreigners. They've got your type of, is it residence, and they've got, you name them, because you're an expert, I'm not. But you would find even those that have got certain papers in this country being involved in certain criminal syndicates. And as FIPSA, your role is important, because then you're able to sort of bring to light in terms of assisting government with regards to identifying certain things. The question on this is that on those people that are documented, according to the law, you're documented, you go and commit a crime, you are a foreigner, you've got some status. What normally needs to happen when it comes to that? Because not a lot of South Africans do know about it.
This is where FIPSA comes in terms of educating, because of there's a term used, undocumented, and undocumented, with my knowledge, means we don't have you in our system in South Africa.
Sure.
Right? And then illegal means you came in and we have record of you, but your papers have expired.
Oh my goodness, I actually, for some reason, I thought it was one and the same thing.
It's not.
Oh my goodness. I really thought, I'm one of those South Africans. I tell you, Gershon, I really thought that
it's not the same. Undocumented means I don't have record of Cindy being in South Africa.
I thought by virtue of being undocumented, that means you're illegal. And illegal.
No, you're still illegal, but undocumented means we don't have you in the system.
Okay.
Then when you are illegal, meaning I know Cindy came in 2016.
Okay.
But she never extended her visa or what renewed. Yes, then you are illegal.
Okay.
That's the difference. And they don't know. But that's
I'm learning as well. I am learning as well. I am waking up a lot.
Yes. And that's what the Indaba is all about. To tell South Africans that this is how it works. I mean, I'll just off-ramp a little bit. Many South African families have foreigners from Lesotho, Zimbabwe, Malawi, you name them. They're working in their houses. But they are not aware that if those people don't have work permits, what are the implications, the legal implications?
What are the implications?
You can be arrested yourself. You are employing an illegal foreigner.
Did you guys know? Did you know? Okay. The arresting part I didn't know. the arresting part. Yo. Hello? Households? Hello?
Yes. No, I'm being honest.
Oh my goodness.
And it goes further. Mm-hmm. You took that person in. It's your duty before the person starts to get to work for you that they must produce a work visa. But the person starts on the spot and you don't even know what's happening. You don't even have the copy of the passport.
We are black humanity.
Yes. You see where it comes. The law and humanity. That's where FIPSA comes in. And this is the honest truth in terms of the law.
My goodness, I'm glad that you actually made an example that resonated with most of us, because I think we tend to look at this issue where you have somebody that will be able to assist you in your household, and we don't look at the deeper intricacies and what it actually does mean if you have somebody that is assisting you that is not from this country. I think that is important, because I love the way you sort of flip the script in terms of how FIPSA plays an intricate role. So it does not necessarily mean, because when somebody speaks about sometimes organizations that are organized, they are looking at it from an intellectual point of view and forgetting that it cuts across. And I love the way you sort of looked at the issue of me employing my freedom.
Yes. Yes.
Freedom. Freedom. And freedom. And what does it mean? Because I don't ask freedom anything.
No, you don't. Because you don't know.
Yes.
That's where the problem is. But let me take it further.
Please.
This did not start now. Malawians, Zimbabweans, Mozambicans, the people from Lesotho and Botswana have been coming back and forth into South Africa as they please with 90-day visas and do what they want to do. Conduct business, work, and go back. Free flow.
What?
Free flow. When you are from SADC, SADC, Europe, passport holders,
yes.
When you come in, you get 90 days. And then you go around something as a European or whatever, you do your things. And then when your 90 days is about to expire, you fly back and then that's it.
So freedom can work for me for 3 months.
No.
And go back and renew.
No.
Okay.
No. That's where it gets even more interesting. You can't. You're not supposed to. When the person comes in on a visitor's visa for 90 days or 30 days, you are not supposed to work. You are not supposed to conduct business. If you do that, you are contravening the Immigration Act because of the purpose of you entering South Africa is to visit.
Being in this country.
So you must go to Table Mountain and the Drakensberg and Sun City. Nothing else. You see how it gets interesting, but people don't know.
Sure, it is interesting. We looked at the socio-economic and political environment in which we are finding ourselves. And, within that, there has been voices that have come up. And I don't want to get into politics. because I think that's not the purpose of this discussion. What I want to get to is that the fact that there's a void where the issues of immigration are not put into correct context. You find that there is this narrative that has been painted, rightfully or wrongfully so. I'm not there to judge. I'm here to be able to be objective and look at both sides of the story, or all sides of the story. But the fact that these three elements, key elements that govern any system in terms of countries, your social and economic and political environment. FIPSA, how do you now plan to intervene into that space? I know you're having an indaba. Because you know what happens within indaba. You know, we had a discussion with my co-host on another segment, Ndombo. And we spoke about the fact that you have commissions after commissions and commissions and commissions. And there are certain recommendations that come out of there and nothing happens. On this one, because we've got burning issues and we cannot run away from 2026 local elections are coming. And issue of immigration is at the core for most organized, some movements in other political parties. And they are using that to be able to garner support of voters for the local government elections that are coming. There are others that are in the fence. There are others that have said, other political parties that have said that no. There is a constitution in this country, and therefore there are rights of certain individuals. I'm not talking about the ones that are illegal. So now, on this part, the indaba is coming up on the 22nd. There are certain milestones that you want to achieve within that. And perhaps maybe it's to sort of break this thing, break the chain, and create a way forward on where you want to go. What is your objective?
I think, firstly, is that FIPSA is not a political organization. That we must make it clear. And as a FIPSA member, we don't even ask you which political party you belong to. We are not aligned to politics. We are professionals. What we're going to present from the indaba as a takeaway is what's best for South Africa. That's all I can say. We don't know what's going to come out, but the solutions and the problems that are South African problems, we will, where we can contribute, we'll give a positive contribution and will outline to Home Affairs, Department of Labor, DTI, as to where the problems are and give constructive feedback flowing from the indaba. We are not going to deal with individual cases to the extent that, for an example, if I've got a client who is Cindy and the case is this is the problem. No, we deal with things in general to say there's a problem with your adjudication system because of you are making these mistakes. Labor, there's a problem on this part in general, not individual. And then it's for them as government. Whoever is in government, we're not interested. We're just South Africans. Whoever is in government on a day-to-day, that is the DG, the minister, or whoever, or the director, will then, on a day-to-day, in their decision-making, will take our inputs to heart and implement them. All what we want is for them to hear us and understand. We're there to add positivity as South African citizens.
Family, on that note, this is a prelude of what's to come. On the 22nd of October, we are going to be there. And the reason why the Forum for the Marginalised are going to be at the Forum for Immigration Practitioners of South Africa, it is because there has to be two sides to a story. For the longest of time, there has been a one-sided narrative in terms of how we view, how we perceive, how we consume the issues of immigration. The chairperson of FIPSA has outlined certain things that are to come. There are revelations that are going to come. There are issues that are going to be brought to the fore. But it is up to you for you to be able to learn, for you to be able to consume the information. But I am glad that we've got organizations that are there that would want to be able to balance the equation when we talk about the issues of the immigration. On that note, I would like to thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mosiane.
My pleasure. I'm honored to be here.
We are looking forward to engaging with you further. As the chairperson of such an important organization, I think there has been a void for the longest of time in terms of being able to balance issues. And the fact they are there and you are coming out, we are looking forward to be with you. Family, this episode is a prelude. There's more to come. Please subscribe, please click, please share, please like. I'm going to be with the chairman again. I'm going to be with the chairperson again on the 22nd. It's coming. We love you. We love you. We love you. Spread the word. No matter whatever you think, Sisonke.